Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. So we are live. And what are we going to be doing tonight? I'll be sharing with you my very first poetry workshop experience. And this happened just last night. So I'm sharing this with you while it's still fresh. I was just reviewing my notes over here tonight. And then now I'm live, going to share with you the best lessons and my processing, what I got out of it, right? Some of you are wondering, you attended a poetry workshop. Did you write some poems? So stay tuned. You just might hear a poem or two, right? As a result of what happened. So I'll just share with you super quick my screen. So what happened, just so for the people who are visual out there, this is what happened. Again, this happened just last night. Over here, as you can see in the date, September 1, the day already. So this one happened last night, and this is how it looked. Over here, just checking. There you guys can see it. There's Marj. So I met her recently, just this year, and it happened, I believe it was even on her birthday, through a common friend, my ice bath teacher, Mark. And she was doing the training, the breath work, the cold immersion, the ice bath training, the yoga. So I got to reach out to Marj and, just out of curiosity, met up with her. And I had no idea, like, if we would connect or not. So I get her book, and then she writes this note to me. And I meet her in Makati. We end up talking for 2 or 3 hours straight. So this is the type of person who she is. And then I have no idea. I'm not a creative, so all you people out there who are, looking at that like, whoa, what is that? What does that look like? Just like you, had no idea what to expect. There was food, and there you can also have an idea of kind of what it looked like, an intimate gathering. There we go. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I believe that that's the last one over there, going back to us. And I'll be sharing with you my notes, the best lessons I got from this. So Poetry Workshop or Poetry Salon by Marj Ostani. This is the very first time I've ever experienced something like this. So, reading Marj's book, which is a collection of poems, I've never attended a poetry event, like spoken word, a poetry workshop where we actually listen and then write our own. So I'll share with you the best lessons. And then if you want, I could share with you a poem or two if you guys would want that as well. Comment in the live, people who are watching, or even in the replay. Curious to see your comments. So this one happened last night, August 31, 2024. Poetry Salon by Marj Ostani. The first line, because I was taking notes over here, is this one hit me. Marj said, "Everybody is doing this NPC thing, and I'm not about that." So people who are into games, right, video games, an NPC is a non-playable character. So what this line means is everybody is doing this NPC thing. It's like they're not even living. They're just on autopilot, right? They're not even conscious, awake, designing and living their own life. And I'm not about that. So I totally agree with this line. So what is this poetry salon, poetry workshop about? It's my notes here. Next ones are, it's more about questioning and being curious. So we weren't told to do things, right? One of the participants said, "I don't want to attend a creative workshop where you're expected to have an output, pass your papers, and then be graded on it." And I felt the same way. So, just so you know, if ever you do attend one, I believe there will be another one happening in October. So just next month, check out for more details on that if you're curious. it was a really good experience. So just keep an open mind, vulnerable, and have a fun time. And that's what happened. So the next notes or next line that hit me here is, I like this one. And again, if you don't agree, feel free to disagree. Comment down below, people watching the live or the replay. Feelings can never be wrong. So any reactions right now? Comment below. I'm really curious. Feelings can never be wrong. So in the moment, that right, one side of me actually understood that that's true. And then my default thinker, because there are feelers out there, I'm more of a thinker, right? INTJ, introvert, thinker, scientist. It's like, yeah, but sometimes feelings can lead you, to a destructive path, or it can lead you to the not the best option or something like that. Now, the truth behind this line, feelings can never be wrong, because context was share because feelings can never be wrong. So I understood what this meant. Whatever you are feeling, it's valid. Now, if you want to go deeper, like into shadow work, which I love, every feeling we have is part of the human experience. And it's very insightful, or just out of awareness, right? It's very good to understand that or even experience it ourselves. Now, I'm not saying here to reward bad behavior. All I'm saying is whatever you're feeling, it can never be wrong. Why is it said this way? The opposite is to actually suppress, right? To not express our feelings. And how many here can relate to that? Comment down below. You don't have to be a guy only, whatever your background is, right? Girl, whatever your, your background is. When you were not allowed to express or experience certain feelings, we know how that ends up, right? Repression, it starts to blow up in ugly or destructive ways, right? So share because feelings can never be wrong. I love that line. Proximity is important in fostering intimacy. So we'll also get into the what the meaning of these words are in a bit. So proximity and then intimacy. Proximity is like how close you are to someone, right? It could be physical, distance wise, and in other levels, emotional, you know, etc. So it takes three things, right? Proximity is important in fostering intimacy. When we talk about intimacy, it takes risk, attunement, and discernment. So, what I love about this is whenever we get intimate with a person, right, it takes a risk because that person can reject us. That person cannot understand us. That person can violently disagree with us. Or maybe some of you can relate, that person can just totally ignore us, right? So it takes a risk. Attunement, because, and I love this attunement because when a person just keeps like gas pedal full on, and the person doesn't like that, it can come off as very overbearing, forceful, and that can actually lead to abuse, right? I'm not just saying physical, it could be verbal, it could be emotional, right? It could be mental, right? Abuse. So attunement, I love that. And then discernment. Maybe we already kind of get what that means, right? Is this the right or wrong thing to do in the moment? Uh, like that. So intimacy is whether it's romantic, it could also be a friendship, it could be with family, it could be, with anyone like an office mate, workmate, colleague, like that, business partner. So we can apply it in those areas of life. Next line that hit me, or best lesson here. Also, there were other poets, like people who had published books and poems who were sharing. So I also love the design of this because when you listen also to people share their poems, Marge didn't logically explain it this way, but the way I learn is that's called modeling. So I don't know how to write poems. Now, if someone has published a book, which is a collection of poems, and they're reading in front, it's like you pick up, like, oh, okay, not everything has to rhyme. Oh, okay, this is the emotion. Sometimes you even just feel where the words are coming from, right? So again, not all the time, but modeling, exposure. I love that. So super, super cool. The next line that hit me, or the next lesson that hit me here, was by Marge. I love this one. It's words are only helpful if you speak them, if you write them. So I'm not telling you to go on a live, just like what I'm doing here right now. And this is actually why I'm doing it. Part of it is this is how I'm processing, how I'm learning to integrate it. I was by myself earlier. You could do that, on your own if you don't want to go live public like that. You could do it with in front of one person. So Marge actually has a really close friend, Claudine. So they actually bounce off feedback and ideas. So words become helpful once you speak them or once you write them. And I love that. So people comment down below if you practice that, how you do it. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's again spoken word, whatever it is. I'm curious. Comment down below what method you do, right? Words are only helpful if you speak them, if you write them. So the next best lesson, I'll move forward. Again, there were other uh, poets who were sharing. So I believe there was Ran, Aranza, there was Jessica, aside, of course, from Marge, Chloe. So they were sharing their own poems here. Here, the next line that hit me, the next lesson that hit me here is it's related to proximity and intimacy. You can be distant even in the same room. For example, it could be a family member, it could be people close to me, maybe like a friend, it could be an office mate, someone like that. Even if you're in the same room, so maybe you'll get this next line. You could be you can be right next to someone and feel 1,000 miles away. So how many of you can relate to that? Just comment down below. If you're watching the live or the replay, hashtag relate, right? Hashtag relate. You can be right next to someone and feel 1,000 miles away. I don't just mean someone at the airport, like some stranger, and then they're just oblivious, right? But if that line hits you, you understand what proximity and intimacy actually means. So the next lesson that hit me here, you might have seen this in my story post just, some moments ago before I got home to do this live. Intimacy can also be with yourself. So normally when we think of intimacy, we think, oh my guys, I'm with a girl, or you're a girl and you're with another girl, whatever way you sway, no judgment here, right? So intimacy can also be with yourself. If you look at my posts right before this live, I was having coffee by myself and I was learning, hey, instead of just being here and just blank, right? This is a moment where I can get intimate with myself. How do we do that? Without even thinking, this line just hit me. Hey, can I be there for myself when I'm feeling lonely? What if I was the one who could be for myself when I was down and no one else was helping me? That's a moment of intimacy. If you really feel it deep down inside, right? You could create that for yourself. So I'm just gonna check. Marge is actually here watching the live. So yes, I just might share my poem because I'm not yet there, but you can grade me. So Marge over here is my teacher, or whatever proper term you would give for a poetry workshop facilitator. It was her event, by the way. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Marge. Another another line that hit me here is a line by Marge. And thank you, men, also for watching the live. You can watch the replay of the first part, but let's flow, right? We're live right now. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. So the next line that hit here, for Min and Marge and everyone else watching the live and the replay, Marge had a poem. I believe it's called Body Swap, and this is the line that pulled or called to me. It takes a decade for people with PTSD to regulate their nervous system. So it takes a decade for people with PTSD, that's post traumatic stress disorder, to regulate their nervous system. Why did this line hit me? Ironically, or super coincidentally, it took me 10 years actually just to get closure or to close that open loop after going through a really hard breakup or heartbreak, whatever you want to call that, right? Like a relationship that didn't work out. So again, I didn't know what mental emotional health back then was in 2014. But 10 years later, just like this line, it takes a decade for people with PTSD to regulate their nervous system. Finally, I feel a sense of regulation. Now, it's not like magic. There is context or backstory to it. I learned how to do ice baths 3 years ago, 2021, and that one will really help you learn how to regulate your nervous system along with other practices. So this poetry workshop, was actually helpful, super helpful in regulating my emotions, actually. If you are curious, I highly recommend you attend a poetry workshop or the next one by Marge, coming this October. These events are rare, so it was my first time. And this was the comeback of Marge because the last poetry salon she held was like a year ago. So if you know someone good and you trust them, I highly recommend you take the jump. It was super worth it. So here we're moving on actually to the next part, which was guided free writing. So don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil any of the processes. If ever I do share anything, it's gonna be my output. But what's more important for you if you attend a poetry workshop, poetry salon by Marge, is you go through your own process, your own creative discovery, and you will have your own output. So this is a Marj Ostani line I'm gonna share coming up because when I first met her and got to talk to her this year, June 15, 2024. So she wrote a note here in her book, Homecoming. I wrote this line on the first page when she said it, and it hit me. And she said it again in this poetry workshop over here. Let's see if you could read it. I'll read it too, don't worry. So, everybody could tell a good story, but not everyone can tell the truth. So, I'll read it again. Everybody could tell a good story, but not everyone can tell the truth. So, I'm a bit older than Marge because she's like Gen Z, right? But I totally get what that line means because anyone can make up a story. I don't just mean in the barber shop, right? Like someone just makes shit up. But you will always be able to feel deep down inside if it's really based on the truth, if it's really solid, if it's fucking universal. Like you will feel it to the core. So this line I love. This is like a Marj Ostani line that I probably will remember till the day I die. Everybody could tell a good story, but not everyone can tell the truth. So why is this relevant? When we start writing, that is the basis. So this one, in this guided free writing, I will just share with you what I ended up writing. And it might just sound like a mishmash of like words or lines together, but you guys be the judge, especially Marj. Min, she was also there too in the workshop, the poetry salon with me, alongside me. So you guys be the judge. Comment down below if this sounds like a poem or just like some abstract words put together. So it's pretty short. I'll just go at it. This was the guided free writing output that I had. Here we go. What scary shit did I get myself into? Yet such a familiar feeling tonight. Real life alchemy, that's what magic is to me. Burn away the past stories that held me back. The gift of life, I realized breathing is. Now I understand. Closer is not defined by space or time. We are all connected, people in this world. I raise my fist, get up and show up today. In my thoughts, words, and actions, all coming from love. Depression was death. Now my afterlife can begin. And so that was the output of my guided free writing. So if that felt like a poem to you, or you felt something, I'm super curious for your feedback. Comment down below. I'm open to learn from you, Marj. I mean, again, uh, constructive feedback. Uh, Holy shit, this is Chloe. So she was the co-facilitator actually. Yeah, last night. So thank you for the feedback, Chloe. She was also sharing some of her poems because she actually writes songs too. So it's there. And then here's Marj. Yes, because Marge actually gave us like super limited time to do that guided free writing. So thank you, Marge. And then moving forward, just to keep this live as short and tight as possible. Actually, we're already here towards the end. So people watching the live now, you can just, go back to the start in the replay. You didn't miss anything. The last part was this generative writing workshop by Marge. And just to get to the point of this for people watching the live over here, I'll share with you the output. So Marge hasn't heard this yet, or Clau, or even Min, who is there, because we ran out of time and I just finished barely in the end, right? So it's up to me if I want to share this or not. So people watching the live, well, you're in for a gift, right? Because I'll share it as I end this. So before I share it, the last note I put here is more events like this. And I totally agree with it. Excited to know your story. Whenever we write a poem or free write from the heart, that's actually what it is. I'm excited to know your story. Usually a poem, lyrics to a song, it is based on the truth, your life story. So you guys be the judge. So I wrote this poem, and the guideline here was freestyle writing. And the topic or my focus here was, where does love come from? So that's the title actually of this poem, this writing I made. Where does love come from? And I'm gonna end the live with this. So here we go. This is the end result of the poetry workshop, Poetry Salon by Marj Ostani. So here we go. Where does love come from? Where does love come from? From above, a higher power, unconditional, life, parents, Mother Nature's mercy upon us, innocence, family. Growing up, still helping others, more conscious. In university, philosophy of the family, what is love? Doing what is good for the other person. Simple, yet profound. 37 years now, more experience, more suffering, a career burnout, a heartbreak, a quarter life crisis, a Saturn return, anxiety, depression, holding on for dear life, for my mental and emotional health. Still here, still standing, not giving up on life, sharing my life, journey, and helping others along the way. Get up and show up. You too? Where does love come from? Me and you. So that's it. That's the end of the poetry workshop, Poetry Salon by Marj Ostani. That took a lot from me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this live. I want to end with that, on that high note or deep note, whatever you felt. But it was a good one. It was a really good experience, beautiful experience. I also met people who are weird just like me. I mean that in the best way possible. And sometimes you just might get something that you could take away for life, right? In a poetry workshop. That I didn't realize. So thank you, Marj. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Min, for watching this live. I'm going to wrap it up with that. And you can check out Marj Ostani, her book, uh, Homecoming. She's coming out with another book. And if you're more interested in the poetry workshop, the Poetry Salon by Marj Ostani, there will be one coming up in October, so next month. So that's it. I'm going to end this live with that. Thank you. I love you. And I will see you next